Hello, today we're going to do a 50,000 foot overview of the open to close system, and I'm going to show you 5 or 6 features, bigger features. We're not going to get too in the weeds on the program, but we are going to show you some major features to cut your transaction time by 70 to 80%. So one of the first things we're going to go over is the organizational structure. In open to close, unlike many programs, we assign things to roles instead of individual people. What this does is it gives us flexibility. If someone's out sick, on leave, you hire someone, you fire somebody, it's very easy to manipulate the system to move all of their assigned tasks and other things that they're responsible for in the system to a new person with 1 or 2 clicks. So let's go ahead into the organization screen now and show you that. Okay, in your organization screen you can add paid users or you can add agent portal users, which are free. Agents and clients are always free, so you can see your agent and client menus here. They're going to have access to a mobile app, they're going to have access to their online portal, and then the agents are going to have access to any CRM integrations that we have. So in here are your paid users. You can set their permissions and make sure they can't delete or add or filter or whatever you want to set up for your team. You can go in here and set up your typical workflow for each person. Signatures, you can create as many signatures as you want. We do have an integrated dialer in the system so that you can assign a number to somebody. They're going to be able to text and call from that number. This button over here is an impersonate user button. So if I am let's pretend I'm Adam West, who's the main account holder, and I want to go into Lois's account, all I do is click this button and it's going to automatically take me over to Lois's or Peter's or Stewie's or Test. So all you have to do is click on this little switch button. It's going to switch you over to their account so you can see exactly what they're seeing. Okay. The second thing, and probably most important in this menu, is the teams. So the way that teams work is you can have a 1-person team, you can have a 2-person team, you can have the same person on all these teams if you want. What it does is, so if I go under users here, I can see that there's 2 people on this team. And I can see that Peter is going to fill the admin role and the document specialist role, and then I see here Stewie is all these other things. So what I tell people is when you're setting this up, set the roles up, and you can edit these roles however you want for your business, whatever your names are for your positions. But I tell people try to think about 10 years out, because what you do is when you set up the system, and say you set up a task and say the email specialist is responsible for that task, well, you may not have an email specialist right now. Right now, Stewie's in charge of all these different roles. But if you hire someone to take care of maybe listing coordination and listing management, you can come in here very easy, uncheck those buttons, assign it to the new person you hire, and now all those tasks just automatically got updated within seconds. Let's pretend Stewie's sick today and he's the transaction manager. If you want to have Peter do the transaction management role today, all you have to do is come in here and click transaction coordinator, and now Stewie and Peter are assigned to every single task that was assigned to that role, transaction coordinator. This makes it very scalable and very easy to switch people on and off, so that if you have someone out sick, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to log into their account. You don't have to switch all your tasks. It's just a very easy process of clicking one button. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so the next menu is the agents. The agent menu, you can go into an agent, you can manipulate their information, you can assign intake forms to them. So we do have integrated intake forms, which I'll talk a little bit about later in this video. And you can say anytime that agent fills out an intake form, assign it to this TC and assign it to this team. You can also put the broker on there and the time zone as well. You can also charge them. We do have a Stripe integration through the system where you can actually charge them up front or on the back end for any of the forms that they're filling out. Okay. And the agent, just to note, the agent does not have to fill out the form. The TC could fill out the form for the agent, so there is a lot of flexibility. The advantage to filling out a form is there are some trigger-based technology to automatically add fields and templates and things of that nature that I'll go over later. And then contacts. Contacts can be shared, so the main database can share all their contacts with the agent or not. You can set it however you want. And you can also give the agent editing power on your database as well, or not. So really flexible. Okay, so under brokerages, if you have expansion teams or you have an Arizona team and a Denver team and a LA team, you can put all those different teams in here. You can also put them in this screen as well. Client portals, you can customize what the clients see. So you can come over here and say, anytime I have a buyer in the system, I want them to see the timeline. I don't want them to see all the fields. I want them to see contacts, but I only want them to see these 2 contacts, and I only want them to see the business information instead of the personal information. So very flexible. You can have them upload, download docs, see tasks, notes, a lot of different options in here you can play with. Okay, so that is the organization. So you can see how that would cut down your time significantly if you have some of those scenarios that I was talking about. Next, we're going to talk about apps and tokens. So if I go into our integrations, right now, check for our current integrations. We have a lot more integrations planned, so this video may be a little bit old. We do have a Google Workspace. That's going to be your mail. That's going to be your calendar. That's going to be Google Drive. So, and contacts as well. You can import your contacts right here. Microsoft, we have Dotloop, SkySlope, Brokerment, Stripe. That's for your invoicing. And right now we have Follow Up Boss, and we are working on some other CRMs as we speak. So. Just a note on Brokerment, SkySlope, and Dotloop, you can add as many accounts as you want. So if you're working with 15 different agents and you want to add all of their accounts, there is a way in the system to do that. You also have the ability to get an API token and do things through Zapier or API Nation or some of those other programs that allow you to do things like that. All you do is generate an API token, and then you can use that in some of their workflows in that system. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about templates. So templates is kind of the base of our program. Everything is templatized so that you don't have to do things over and over and over again. We want you to be able to create a template once and then assign it automatically to a transaction and never have to do that again. So let's go into templates real quick, and we'll just go down the list. Intake forms. Customized intake forms, fully dynamic. If the agent or the TC selects, yes, there's a referral, you could add 2 extra fields to pop in that say, what's the referral fee and who's the referring agent. So a lot of flexibility there. Let's just go into one real quick, and I'll just mention one other of the major features of this. There are 2 webinars on this that you can go more into detail if you wanted. Let's go into triggers. And in triggers, what you can do is you can say, if something is true, and that's the condition. So let me go down here. If these 3 things are true, go ahead and add my trigger template, my property triggers trigger template. If these 2 things are true, go ahead and add my inspection tasks and my property triggers. You can add date templates. You can add a full gamut. So you can do templates, you can do text messages, you can do emails, you can bring in fields or field sections. So you have a lot of different options as you get in here. When you add a trigger, you can say when the agent or TC submits it or when it's approved internally, that's when I want these triggers to set off. So it's really cool. If you, let's say, for example, there's a well on the property, and that's not typical in your area. What you can do is say, if well is checked yes, bring in my well document template, bring in my well tasks, bring in my well fields. This way you're not having to manually add things. The TC, when they set up this transaction, is immediately getting all the fields they need, all the tasks they need, all the documents that they need to upload automatically through the system just by setting these triggers. Okay, so let's pop down to trigger templates. Now, trigger templates is an upgrade, but I'm going to go over it briefly just because it's next on the list. What trigger templates are conditional-based actions that happen. So when I go down here, you can see if these 3 things are true, this email is going to send out 3 days before contract acceptance at 10 a.m. So there's a lot of other features in here. I won't go too in the weeds, but basically this is a conditional-based trigger system so that you don't have to have tasks for everything. You can say, hey, system, when these 3 things are true, alert me and let me know that this is ready to go out. So now you don't have a task list of 200 tasks. A lot of those can be automated through the system. Okay, next is property triggers. All property triggers are is a conglomeration of other templates. So if I don't want to have to go in and say, assign this template and assign this template and assign this template, I can assign one template called demo sample, and it's going to assign all these other templates to the property. This is good for, let's say an inspector goes out to the property and finds that the house has septic instead of sewer. And we didn't know that. The listing agent didn't put it in the listing. Well, now you can create one of these property templates for septic, and it can have your septic docs and your septic tasks and your septic fields, and all you'll have to do is just apply that septic template, and all these other templates that we told it to are going to come into the property. So helpful for after the fact type things. Task templates are very unique in our system. We have what we call triggers. Let me touch on days first. When you come in here, you can set this however you want. So you can base it off another task. You can base it off a property date. You can say 2 business days, calendar days, skip landing on weekends, same day as. And then down here, you can say, what do I want to base it off of? So acceptance date, so 2 business days after contract acceptance. If it lands on a Saturday or Sunday, do you want it to roll back to Friday? Do you want it to roll forward to Monday? If it lands on a federal holiday, would you like it to roll back, roll forward? So a lot of different options. I won't go into everything. There is internal details where you could create like a little operations manual in here for your people in case they forget how to do a task. You can make tasks recurring. You can make it a parent-child relationship. A lot of different options in here. So when I check this task off by a certain date, or when I don't check it off by a certain date, you can have triggers happen. So these triggers, if I pop this trigger menu open, I can see that this email is going to be sent automatically without me checking it. So this is something without a lot of merge fields or smart blocks, which we'll get into later. This email is going to go out automatically. This email is going to go out automatically. This email is going to pop up in my health bar or my queue and tell me, hey, this is ready to go out, but it's not going to send out automatically. Maybe this is something where you have a heavy amount of merge fields or smart blocks. You want to get your eyes on it before it goes out. You do not have to set these to send out automatically. You can turn that off right here. And now this one will not go out automatically. It's going to let you know before so that you can manually send this. But it is going to alert you when it's ready to go. And then you can do templates as well. The other thing you can do here is when you can send this when the task is complete or when it's not complete. So if contingency date, I didn't do this task before the contingency date, you can have a reminder go out to your agent, text message saying, hey, we're 1 day before the contingency date, just wanted to make you aware. So tasks are really cool. You can create as many triggers as you want. In the premium plan, you get 3 triggers per task. On the premium add-on, you get unlimited. Okay, next one is email templates. This is where you're probably going to save a ton of time. So in the email templates, we go back to that role-based thing that we were talking about earlier. This is going to send to every buyer in the transaction. So whether you have 1 buyer or 16 buyers, it doesn't matter. You're not going to spend time adding all those people to every email. All you have to do is click buyer. It'll go over to your contacts. It'll grab everyone that's a buyer and put them on this email. Now, the cool thing is we have some things that we created called CC on all buyer emails, CC on all escrow, lender emails, things like that. What this is for people that should be copied on that email. So when an escrow officer or an attorney says to me, hey, can you put my paralegal on? Can you put my 5 assistants on? I always hated that. You couldn't remember to do it every single time. Now all you have to do is add that person as a contact, pop that CC on all lender emails on, and now they're going to get copied on everything that the lender is being sent. In this scenario for a buyer, this may be a wife and a husband that's helping their son buy a house. First time he bought a house, so they want to be copied on every email so that they know what's going on, but they're not on the contract. You can use these roles however you want, but since it's role-based, it's really easy to create these little caveats so that you're not spending time adding a bunch of people to every single email. Okay, so that's pretty cool, the way that works with roles. Also, down here, we have file roles. File roles are just a way to tell the system what that document is. So the document comes in, it's called 123 Main Street. We're going to reassign it to purchase contract fully executed. So I know this is the fully executed. You could have BS here for buyer signed, SS for seller signed. There's a lot of different ways you can do these. If this purchase contract exists in my documents, it's going to come over here and automatically attach it to this email because I told it these 8 things need to be attached if they exist in my documents tab. So this is really cool. You're not attaching documents anymore. They're automatically going to be attached to this email. Now, the biggest time savers in emails is what we call smart blocks. Now, obviously, we have merge fields, and you can go create a brand new field right now. Every single field is customizable, and you can come over and make a merge field out of it within seconds of creating that field. But where the real time savings happens is on these smart blocks. So smart blocks is like if you have an email with a bunch of highlights in it, and those highlights are like, hey, if there's a well, insert this paragraph, or if there's septic, take this paragraph out. Very time consuming. You have all these highlights. You have to constantly be taking things in and out of emails. Well, we created some technology here where you're not going to have to do that anymore. We call it smart blocks. So if I highlight this smart block and I hit this button, it's going to pull up what this smart block is. So if the escrow number is blank, so that means I haven't received the escrow receipt yet. I know that the buyer has not got the money over to the escrow company yet or the title company. In that case, I want to alert them on how to get that money over to the title company. So right here it says, please deposit your earnest money with, let's just say Fidelity Title. Smart block here is the escrow agent's information. It will list that here because I have a smart block for the escrow agent's information. Then it's going to tell them the ways to get it over there. Drop it off, wire it, or have a courier pick it up. Now, I remind you, this is only coming in if this condition is true. You don't only have to have one condition. You could have and or statements here. You could have 5, 7, 10 conditions on this if you really wanted to. In this case, I didn't need it, I just needed one. This paragraph is going to come into this bullet point if this is true. If it's not true, it's just going to strip this out and it's going to renumber these 1, 2, 3. So really cool, saves you tons of time. This one here is for an inspection. So if the agent on the intake form or the TC on the intake form said that the inspection was not scheduled yet, then you can have this information popping in about, hey, how am I going to get them to set up the inspection? So this is going to go to your buyer and it's going to give them all the information on recommended home inspectors, how to go about that process. Maybe you set it up for them. You can put whatever kind of information in here as you want. Okay, so that's enough about smart blocks, but you can see the power of that. That's going to save you hours per transaction. Okay, let's go to text. Well, actually, text is very similar to email. So basically everything you can do in email templates, you can do in text templates. We'll go ahead and skip them. Document templates. Okay, let's go to septic. So all these buttons can be totally customized for your compliance system. So if you guys want a button for missing initials, or you want a button for listing agent signed or seller signed or whatever, I just created this one just to show you that you could do a custom button for whatever you wanted. You can exclude it from the view of people. Tons of options in here. You can make notes on each one. You can pull out notes. You can send these documents to skyslope.loop Brokerment, a host of others coming in the future. You can color code these. You can, tons and tons of options. I'm not going to go too in the weeds here again, but this kind of gives you a high-level overview of what's going on, and we'll touch on this when we get to the transaction as well. One sheet. So one sheets, what one sheets are is a 1 or 2 page PDF that the system creates for you and sends out to anyone that you want to give an update to. How this works is you're going to create the fields you want included, the contacts you want included, the tasks if you want to show them, and you can embed an email in it. You can show them documents that are missing. You can do whatever you want in these customizable one sheets. And then you can tell it, hey, I want to send this to the lender every Monday at 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. on Monday, basically what the system's going to do is it's going to go grab all that information that you told it to put in this PDF. It's going to automatically create this PDF and automatically email it out for you on that date and time. So big time saver. I'll show you more about this once we get to the transaction. Field templates, I'm not going to go over too much. This is if you're filling out a manual transaction and not utilizing the intake forms, you can bring in a certain set of fields. Date templates, very important. You can create these date templates to have fallback fields. So earnest money in our contract is always due 2 business days after contract acceptance. I can roll that forward, roll it back, whatever I want there. Now, I have this other field here, and this is for if you get a counteroffer addendum and it says, hey, I want 5 days to get the earnest money over instead of 2. Well, if you type 5 into this field, it's going to automatically overwrite this 2. It's going to recalculate all the dates that are contingent upon this date, and then it's going to update everyone's calendar if you told it to as well. So date templates are very powerful. No more counting on your fingers to see what date something's due and putting it on the calendar yourself. This is all going to happen automatically. Okay, API field mapping. I'm not going to go too deep in this, but basically what you're doing here is you're saying this field in open to close equals this field in another program, and you're going to be able to sync those. So if it says closing in open to close, but it says closing date in SkySlope, you can match up those 2 fields so it knows where to send it to. File storage, this is for PDFs, utility. Maybe you send to the seller a utility PDF to fill out with all their utility companies. You can post this in here. If you ever need to change it, you update it here, and basically it'll go through all your transactions and update it at one time, so you don't have to wait for a transaction to be over to change some type of template that you've created. And then you can import. So we got some imports in here if you wanted to import contacts, task templates, email templates, text templates, properties, things like that. So, okay. After templates, we're going to talk about the property screen. This is one of the biggest time savers. So in the property screen, and all these you can make colors, so you just right click. I know it kind of looks junky right now because I just went through and made a bunch of examples that didn't really make sense, but you can customize these with certain colors. In the future, we're going to have conditions. So you can say if it's a buyer, turn it green. If it's a seller, turn it red. Right now, it's just a right click and choose a color. So if I want a new color, take that right off. You can color code these properties. There is a quick menu here. So if I just wanted to change the closing date on this, I could either do it here, inline editing in this spreadsheet, or I could come over here to search fields, and I could just type in the beginning part of the field. It's going to pull up all the fields with CLO in it, and then I'm going to be able to change that and be right back in the same screen. Now I'm not spending a bunch of time going into a transaction, back out of a transaction. If I wanted to see the files for this, I could pull up the files. If I wanted to see all the fields for this, I could click on details and pull out all the fields. So a bunch of different little time-saving options. If I wanted to see the contacts for this, here, actually, let me go to one where there's more contacts here. Let me pull the contacts up. And now I could come in here and say, hey, I want to call Cleveland, call them. The dialer pops up. I can choose what number I want to call, and then I can go ahead and call that person. So like I said, tons of clicks that are going to save a bunch of time. And then you got some other things in here, tasks, documents, things like that as well. Also, you can do that here. So if I start typing the address, it's going to pull up everything with that in it and all the contacts associated. And then you're able to do the same type of things in here as well. So let me just go ahead and delete that out. Okay, so next is the missing documents. So that's this right here. So if you mark these missing, they're going to have a count for you, so you can count down and make sure you get all your compliance documents done. And then over here is the health bar. So this tells you if it's red, it's due today, orange due tomorrow, blue due in 2 days. So now the TC isn't having to go into this transaction because they know nothing is due today on this. So they're just looking for red if they're looking for today or past due tasks. So saves a lot of time clicking in, clicking out, trying to figure out what's going on with each transaction. This is kind of going to give you a heads up on what's going on. So if I do click on these health bar, it's going to tell you what I need to do. So these 5 tasks are due. If I click on this, I can see a bunch of emails that got triggered to send. So these are those ones that were not sent automatically that are going to post up here and say, hey, you might need to check these before they go out. You can schedule them for a later date. You can send them. You can inspect them to see what's going on with this. If there are missing merge fields, there's a big red box down here to let you know that, hey, you have some missing merge fields you might want to fill out before you send this email. If you want to type in here, say you want to say happy anniversary or happy birthday, if something like that's coming up, all you do is hit the edit button. It's going to open up an editable email with this information in it. You can type what you want and hit send. So a lot of time-saving things in there. Okay, so dovetailing off of this, one thing I will mention too, every view in here, so you can set up tables and segments. So I can say buyers, and then I can say closing in 7 days, closing in 14 days, closing in 21 days, and those could all be different segments. Each view, each table, each segment is going to have a different view on this spreadsheet type thing here. So if I go in here and say this view, every time I see this view, I don't want property access code, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that out of here. Now that's going to save, and every time I get into buyers with no segments, you can see that column left, and now it's just closing. So you can customize these so you can easily segment your database, see which listings you have going, see which ones are pending, see which ones are closed. Anything that you want, you can report on those through these 2 tabs, and then you can export that data if you want as well. And like I said, you can have a different view for each of those. Okay, one other feature that I'll hit real quick is you can save snapshots of all your tasks. So this is not dependent on what transaction it's in. If you want to batch tasks, you can come in here. You can create a view. So you can search by address. You can say, I want to see everything for the next 3 days. You can do it by color, by tag. So on your tasks, you can tag your tasks with, hey, this is an appraisal task, this is a closing task, whatever you want. You can make them critical. So I just want to see my critical tasks. You can click that button. Choose which team members are assigned to. So there's a lot of different filter options you can get into here. And then when you're done filtering, you can say create snapshot and create that snapshot for a later date. So I have all these created here so I can quickly come into my past due tasks and see if I have anything past due. And I do. So I better get on these because these are all past due tasks. Okay, so let's go into a transaction now. So transactions, we'll go into Beverly. So in here, you have all your fields over here that you can do. You have a bunch of different menus. So if you want to add or subtract fields, you can do that here. If you want to apply property templates, like I said, you didn't know there was septic on the property, you could apply a septic template right here. Your default and settings, that's just a bunch of settings. What's your default email address? What's your default texting number? All the different things that you can change are in here. You can search fields. So if I don't want to scroll through all these fields that I have, I can just hit search fields and it's going to pop that up and I'm going to be able to easily find a field. You can duplicate this transaction, you can delete it, you can refresh it, you can do a bunch of stuff. Here are all your field menus. So if you want to divide these up, I like everything in my details menu. I like everything on one screen, but a lot of people like to separate their dates, their loan stuff, their commission stuff. You can do it by state, a lot of different options you can do in here. Okay, so here are the tasks. And as you can see, the only difference between that template that I showed you and this is now the people that are in these roles are assigned to this transaction. And one of the other things is one of our integrations here. So this integration is set up with Follow Up Boss. I've actually assigned a task in this contact to this person. And so it's letting me know that that was added over in Follow Up Boss, that task for this person to do. Once it's complete, it'll let me know over here so that I can check off this task. Okay, anything else in here? All your completed tasks are here. You can do some of the options you can delete out. So these are all the different templates that I put in. I can delete out any of those if I need to. So I won't go too much into detail here. Emails, you can do one-off emails here. So you can also see all your folders over in Gmail, or labels as they call them. I can send this email. I can schedule it for later. I can apply a template email. Tons of stuff you can do in this one-off email section. You don't need to use too many one-off emails anymore, because once you get your template set up, all of your emails that go out during the transaction should be in some type of template. But you always have those little one-offs that you need to do. Triggers, these are the automated triggers that I told you about. When they're ready, they go from in process either up to scheduled on a certain day and time, or to be sent out immediately. And it will notify you up here in a queue box, and it'll say, hey, you have 2 triggered emails that are ready to go out. So it's going to alert you and not let you forget those. Documents, here's what we looked at earlier. So if I go into here, I can see that I can upload this one to SkySlope. Since I have something in here, this little paperclip means there's a file in here. This little flame means there's that file roll that automatically attaches this document to a email. These are customizable, like I told you before. A lot of different options. You can expand all these with notes. So if I have a bunch of notes in here, I can expand it out, or I can collapse that if I don't like that big view. All of these, once they go from, so there is a box that pops up here, unapproved documents, when a new document gets emailed in or brought in from a different source. Say a client went onto the portal and uploaded a document, it's going to come up here as unapproved. You're going to be able to check that, make sure all the initials, signatures, and everything. Once you approve that, it's going to come down in here to a folder or wherever you want to keep it. As soon as you approve it, it's going to sync up with Google Drive if you told it to. So now you're going to get a backup copy in Google Drive in the folder that you told it to as well. Okay, text, same as emails like we said. Give you a little running list there. You can change and see who in the transaction is sending this stuff. You got contacts. You can also add these to SkySlope, Brokermint.loop, all the different compliance sites. You can assign the role. These are the roles that we were talking about earlier. So if this is a buyer and this is a buyer, they're both going to be on that example email that I showed you. This one I forgot to put one in, so let me go ahead and say if I wanted a seller, I could just start typing it. It's going to pull up all my seller roles, and now he's a seller. And you can also call. So if you want to call from here, whoops, there you go. The dialer pops up. Notes, you can put notes on a file. You can pin them to the top. You can exclude them from the agent and client's view. One sheets. Okay, here's the one sheets that I was telling you about earlier. So here we have a demo. We assigned a demo to this, it's a demo one sheet, but we assigned a one sheet to this transaction. We can preview it, we can schedule and send it. We can create a one-off if we wanted to. So we could come in here and create a custom one and send it right now. Most of the time you're going to create a template and then have it go to the escrow, lender, other agent, your agent, like maybe once a week or twice a week or whatever you decide for your workflow. Preview it, it's going to pop up. It's going to go and grab all those things I told it to. So I told it to bring in all these fields. I told it to bring in these contacts, all these contacts, that was a lot. I told it to just bring in the completed task. So it has the completed task and when it was done. I told it to bring in documents. So you got all your documents here. You can click on it and open that up. This one's missing. This one's missing. This one's missing. So some of these are marked missing. And there's actually documents in there because this is my demo account. Normally that wouldn't be the case. You would have something like this where it's black and you can't click on it because there's no document in there. And then you can embed emails in here as well. So this could be like a, hey, I wanted to give you your weekly update. And then you could have a bunch of merge fields and smart blocks that put in appropriate information for what's happening that week. You can also add notes and things like that that I didn't include on this one, but this is very flexible, very customizable. Okay, and then schedule and send. Let me show you that menu. So you can click all the different property contacts that you want to send this to, and then you can say every Monday at 9, every Tuesday at 9, whatever you want. You can come in here every Saturday at 2 a.m. There you go. So that's that. Okay. APIs. So all the different APIs that you turn on in the API menu will be listed here. Let's go to Follow Up Boss, for example. Follow Up Boss, here's their embedded widget. I could send that over to whatever contacts I want. And you can have the agent API and you could have a TC API. So you can have two different APIs here with different people different information going to different people. You have the deal sync. So you can sync your deals over there so you don't have to create the deals in Follow Up Boss anymore. You can update these as you go through the transaction and keep updating the stage. You can content sync. This is like emails, text, notes, fields, everything's being synced back and forth. So if you want to send this information over to like the conversation view in Follow Up Boss, you can do that. Same goes with some of these other, let me show you another example of like a compliance feature. So here's SkySlope. You can send contacts, send documents, open up the commission tab over in SkySlope, edit the sale, edit the details, tons of different options you can do in here. In the options here, I'll just show you this real quickly. Here's if this form had an amount to it, it would have automatically brought in like, hey, I'm going to charge this person $500 to do the transaction. If I want to give them a discount on this one because I screwed up, I can give them a $100 discount. Now it's $400, gives them a little invoice. At the bottom here, I say confirm. I hit their credit card. A little invoice is going to pop up here. It's also going to email the agent this on this card. It's going to send them an invoice or a receipt. I'm sorry. You do have activity, you have access on who has access to this file, agents, clients, team users. You can switch that out at any time. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is contacts. If you go into a contact, it's going to give you a bunch of information, your personal information, your business information, any notes, any emails that you've sent out to that person, any text messages, any calls, lead sources. So if you want to mark the lead source on that person, groups. So what groups are groups of people. So say in here I have 50 people. I could assign all 50 people to a transaction at one time. You can also keep groups just to easily sort home inspectors, attorneys, things like that. Connections. Now if I wanted to do a connection in here, I could type in Lois and I could select her. Now she may be the wife of Charles, let's pretend. And so you want her associated. Maybe you associate his kids, maybe you associate LLC partners, whatever you want to associate. Now, if you want to, every time you add Charles to a property, if you wanted to add Lois, you could click this button and now she's going to be added every time Charles is added. You also have all these different properties that they're involved with. You can email them, text them, call them. So there are a lot of different options in here. I just kind of want to touch quickly. You do have the same functionality as properties where you can create tables and segments to easily sort. So that's the 50,000 foot overview. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact us. We do have a support button that will be right down here in the right corner. It will be a purple button and you can text or email support. There's also a support button up here and this is going to take you to our support center. So if you want to come into the welcome email, if you want to come into creating a new property transaction, it's all right here. If you come up to how it works, it's going to give you a video series 101. There's going to be a 202, a 30, or I'm sorry, a 101, a 201, and a 301 that you can go through to set up your system. But if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us and we will definitely do a one-on-one demo if you need some more info. Hope you're having a great day and talk to you soon. Thanks.